All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. And I'm in an especially good mood today here on the channel, as you can see in the background. We've got an announcement to talk about in today's video. We've got more than just the announcement to talk about. We will have a full video. It probably will be a little bit shorter than the average video, but we've got a very important announcement in today's video to go over. But let me go ahead and break things down for you so you know what we're getting into real quick. Because like I said, we do have a few other things to go over. First things first, we got two announcements to go over. The one you see in the background and another one we'll talk about in a minute here. Then we're going to look at the Western and Eastern meta and see how things are shaping up over the, over OP09 for us in the West, because we're about to go into OP10 in the West, and then we'll look at the early results from OP11 over in the East. And I think people have an idea of how that's going in the East right now, but we will talk about that as well when we get to it. And then we're going to have a game on the sim. We'll have a game of Red-Yellow Sabo, OP11 Red-Yellow Sabo versus Red-Black Garp. That should be a spicy matchup just to have some fun with. And we'll finish off the video with the deck list, and I'll give you guys my final thoughts, and we'll wrap it up in that way. Okay, guys? Now, let's do this. Let's get into it. I'll have everything time-stamped in the general description. I'll have all relevant deck lists and links and things like that down in the comment section below. And if you guys have any comments, questions, suggestions, whatever, please do not hesitate to put those down in the comment section below as well. Or hop on the VV Theory Discord. Link is in the channel description. Today's video is sponsored by Nin Garden. Their latest spring collection just dropped with 3 incredible new designs. And to celebrate, they're running a spring sale where you can buy one playmat and get any classic playmat at 40% off with the code SPRINGSALE. This is the newest addition to the spring collection, the Whole Cake Island playmat, which looks absolutely stunning. Now, when you go to checkout, be sure to use the promo code TheVVTheory with no spaces for 5% off your order, and NIN10, again, no spaces, for an additional 10% off. And these codes do add up, by the way. They are cumulative. I will have the links to the website and promo codes in the comments section and general description for you guys, so be sure to check out Nin Garden. All right, guys, you know what time it is. We got a really big announcement to talk about today. I'm recording this a day after they made the announcement. They made the announcement yesterday at the time we were recording this in Dallas, Texas, on the first day of One Piece Day, that all language versions will be released at the same time worldwide in 2026. Let's go. What incredible news. I have been complaining about this ad nauseum here on the channel. I mean, it's something I've been complaining about since I first started my channel, since I first got into the game. Because get this, guys, I almost stopped playing One Piece, the trading card game, the TCG, before I even started my YouTube channel, because I could not stand the fact that we were an entire set behind the East. I couldn't stand it. And I know, hey, guys, there are some games that are still behind from the East. Like games, I believe, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and Vanguard, and probably some others, are still behind in the West. Like the East is ahead of the West, and I don't know if they ever plan on catching up those games. So I have to say right now, real quick, before we go any further with this, big shout out to Bandai for catching us up. I think this was the honorable decision, what they did. I think this was a very, very good decision to catch us up with the East, and I think the game will actually have a healthier future because of it. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Let me also read over here, guys, before we move any further with this. Up at the top right here, I'm going to read this if you want to read along. The news in the panel that just ended included the announcement that starting sometime in 2026, all language versions of the One Piece card game products will start releasing simultaneously, unifying the game's environment worldwide. How incredible is that information, guys? That is absolutely incredible. And, excuse me, notice it does say starting sometime in 2026. So we don't know when in 2026, but that's okay. Guys, all I needed to hear was that it was happening. Because like I said, I complained about this all the time here on the channel about catching us up with the East. Now, don't get me wrong. There's other things to complain about now that this has been caught up, but this is definitely a step in the right direction in my personal opinion, and I love hearing that Bandai has done this. I think this will be so incredible for the World Championship tournaments they plan on having in the future, and I would not be surprised if early 2026 everyone is caught up, because think about it, guys. Let me put some things into perspective. At the time of me recording this video, in 1 week we're going to have the World Championships for One Piece TCG, and here's the thing. We're going to be playing in the OP09 meta. Even though we're about to get OP10, what I think on the weekend of Worlds, if I'm not mistaken. I could be a little bit off on that. The pre-release will happen during the Worlds Championship for us in the West. We'll be getting OP10. But the tournament will take place in the OP09 meta for Worlds. Meanwhile, the East is already in OP11. Okay, so you understand, unifying the entire world under the same, the same release schedule, a simultaneous release, is going to be absolutely massive to help us with, with the World Championship to have an actually interesting and engaging new format where all the best players can compete. You love to see it, guys, and it's just so nice catching us up, because for all the deck builders out there, hey, guys, all my fellow deck builders out there, this news is incredible, because now, what ends up happening is all these new cards come out, and that's where the deck builders can really thrive. The creative players who are trying to make things work that have not worked up to that point, you're going to be able to try all these new things out before the entire meta gets figured out, and then you can always adjust from there. So it's just such an important thing from so many different areas. So like I said, between like just having us all on the same tournament schedule across the world, or I shouldn't say tournament schedule, but having us all under the same meta across the world, or even meta is a tough word. That's a tricky word to use as well, right? Because they might, you never know. We'll have to see what happens now. What if the meta is different in one part of the world versus it is in another, and then at Worlds it meets up, and then we see what really ends up winning? You just never know. We'll have to see what happens. It's a very exciting time for this TCG, guys. This announcement was massive. This is one of the biggest announcements, best announcements I've seen for this game, maybe ever for me since it came out and since I got into it. So really good stuff there. Very, very happy to see this. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments section below. You guys know where I stand on it. Okay, I've been ranting about this now for about 4 minutes, right? And I absolutely love the direction of this. It's going to allow for so many things to pop up for us here on the channel as well in the future. We're going to be able to potentially predict decks as we go. Right, we're going to be able to maybe come out with the next top deck. Because one thing I will say is, imagine if we were, for those who've been following the channel for a while, you know that I followed, for a while I was on a black-yellow Linlin arc, and then after that I went on a red-yellow Sabo arc here on the channel of trying to make these decks into top tier. Well, think about if we try that as new cards are coming out, it might give us a better chance, and who knows what it could have done, if we had been trying that when we were getting all the cards at the same time before things were being figured out in the East. Then we just got the hand-me-downs from the West and all that stuff. And one more thing I have to mention, I know I'm all over the place, guys. Bear with me. I'm just extremely excited, and there's so much to talk about in regards to this. The other thing is this. One thing that kind of prevented me from playing a lot locally where I live, where I live, is I didn't like the idea of, okay, I'll play on the sim to do all my content. I have to stay up to date on my content, right? And I play all that in the East mainly with all the newest cards. It keeps things fresh, it keeps things new, and it keeps me interested. Well, imagine how that feels for me if, like, okay, now let's say Friday is the big night that we have One Piece where I live. There's a bunch of different nights. There's a bunch of different nights that One Piece takes place in my area, but Friday's the big night where it's like the biggest turnout. And whenever I'd go there on a Friday, I didn't even want to play because I'm playing with cards that are so old. I'm like, wait, this is like 2 sets behind the West right now, or 2 sets behind the East right now for us over here in the West. And it just felt so terrible that it was hard for me to want to play it with all the old cards when I'm playing with all the new stuff online on the sim. It was rough. But anyway, let me wrap this up. There's not too much more to talk about. I just have to say I am so stoked to see this information here that we're finally being caught up with the East, and we're going to have a worldwide simultaneous release going forward starting in 2026. This is incredible news. Tell me what y'all think about this down in the comments section below. Now, we do have one other thing to talk about. Let's stay on Twitter over here. There's another thing that's coming up, this new Pirates League. I don't have a lot of information on this, but I at least wanted to bring it to everyone's attention for everyone to look into it or to share information down in the comments section below if you know more about it. But check this out, guys. They announced a Pirates League as well, I believe, at the same time. Yeah, Pirates League, One Piece card game. I'm going to read over here at the top right again because I don't know much about this, guys. It says, the news of the panel that just ended included the announcement and details about a new event called Pirates League. In short, stores will use a special event to make a crew and then come together to compete against crews formed by other stores. How cool is that? You can find the details on the official website once they are added soon. So we have to wait for more details to be coming out about this. But from what I understand, I believe it's going to be a 3 versus 3 format where you're not just going to have 3 players on your team. You'll just have 3 players represent your store in these different matchups. It's kind of hard to explain. Think of it like in a sports game, right? You have your players that are playing in the game currently, and then you have the bench, right? And I know that's kind of a weird idea within a card game, but hey, I think there could be a lot of potential here, and I'm very curious to see how this goes. And who knows, if it's anything like all the other Bandai events, then, you know, I'm sure there's going to be some pretty decent prizing in this that makes it worth trying out. So really good stuff here. Now, again, I don't have a lot of information on this just yet. Share what you want to in the comment section if you do know more about it, but we're going to keep our eye on this, and I'll try to keep you guys updated as more information comes out about this. Okay, good stuff here. Great announcements so far from One Piece Day. Hopefully there's even more announcements to come. And then guess what, guys? In about 1 week is Worlds, and there will be a bans and restriction update. Okay, so we have nothing but crazy news going on, you know, or a lot of like big news going on over this week and over the course of next week, and probably just in probably the rest of this month, to be honest with you. We'll see what happens, because with that, we also have to talk about who wins Worlds, and then the bans and restrictions. We got a lot on our plate, guys. And I've got a ton of videos I want to put out as well on some cool new leaders, or let me say this, cool new support for older leaders from OP11. So we're going to be super busy on the channel here moving for the rest of this month. Now, let's do this, guys. Let's hop over. Now we're going to move over and check out the Western meta. We haven't done this on the channel in some time. Just going to kind of update you guys on how things are looking at the end of OP10 for us in the West, right? Excuse me, the end of OP09 for us over here in the West, because we're about to be in OP10 next week for the pre-releases. So that's another thing I have to do on the channel soon, guys, is come up with a pre-release guide. Bear with me. I'm trying my best here, guys. You know, be patient. We're going to get all the stuff out as soon as we can. I have not forgotten about it. We just got a lot on our plate right now. But check this out. When you sort by, I'm going to sort by deck profile. Okay, here's a Blurple Crocodile that went 4-0 at some type of tournament here. Very cool. But notice this. As we could expect, guys, Blue Dofi is very dominant still over in the West. Blue Dofi is, as far as the eye can see, we got some Blue Dofi action going on here. And this is out of, let me see how many results. This is out of 310 results. Almost 100 results of Blue Dofi alone. Almost 100 results of Blue Dofi. Not quite, that's probably like 75. Okay? Then we have a decent amount of, well, not too much Zoro, but this might change soon. I think we're going to talk about this more when we talk about the Eastern meta. We'll see what goes on there, because going wide on the board and getting a plus 1,000 buff everywhere, that might come in very handy in the future when we get into OP11. But again, we'll talk about that in a moment. Smoker, seeing some pretty decent representation. Katakuri as well, 5-0 here, guys. Katakuri is seeing some decent representation. There's always going to be a few blue Namis around. Now, none of these won anything big, but top 32 here, 22nd place here at some bigger, like regional Treasure Cup level tournaments. Bello Betty showing up here and there. And now, so we got 3 on this page. Let's go to the next page. Got to go all the way to the top. And Nell's seeing some pretty good representation as well, along with Purple Luffy. Purple Luffy's actually seeing quite a bit here. I think a lot of people are starting to make a transition over to a more purple-heavy meta, and Purple Luffy is very strong right now, but once we get into the OP10 meta, we're going to get our hands on EB02, and there's a green-purple leader coming out called, well, it's a green-purple Luffy leader, I should say, and it's coming out, and it's going to be very powerful. So it looks like a lot of people are starting to make those adjustments now, getting ready to move into a more purple meta. But hey, we have to see what happens with bans and restrictions, guys. We don't know what's going to happen yet. That could drastically, the bans and the bans and restrictions could drastically change the tone of what we see with purple going forward, and with Blue Dofi. We didn't talk about that earlier, but even with Blue Dofi. Okay, a few Gecko Moria, Perona, Reiju, Yamato, Boa Hancock, a bunch of random leaders here and there. But then we got Bonnie and Lucci. These are pretty well represented as well in OP09, and I could see most of these decks moving forward into OP10. Into OP10 in the West as well. Again, depending on what the bans might look like. Vegapunk, there's a random one-of list here. It's very nice. 1 Carrot list, 1 Calgara, 1 Chopper. Now, Blackbeard's another one we have to talk about. So notice we got 5 here. Now we're going to go to the next page. Scoop up to the top here. A lot of Blackbeard in OP09. I expect there to be at least double, if not triple this amount going into OP10. Going into OP10, Blackbeard seems like it's been figured out for the most part in the East, and I think a lot of people are just going to copy-paste from the West, which is fine. You know, people who are trying to be competitive, you know, trying to always work towards becoming the best and everything. I get that. And I actually think Blackbeard will probably see much more play over in the West. But as a result, if that is true, a lot of people might play things like Zoro, these faster decks that are super aggressive, and maybe even like Bello Betty. decks that can just go toe-to-toe with Blackbeard and really kind of run it over, have fast games, you know, help you out with player fatigue and things like that. You know, you love to see it. Really good stuff here, though. Blackbeard's seeing a lot of representation already, all the way, even though we're still just in OP09 without all the extra support it gets in OP10. Buggy, I think, will also see much more representation soon, especially once we move into the, once we get our hands on the starter decks. That's when I think Buggy will start seeing much more play. Lim right here, just one of, I don't see, so in the East, I think Lim did pretty well. Actually, I might be thinking of OP10. I can't really think of it off the top of my head, guys, but I think Lim saw a lot more representation in the East than it did in the West. But either way, it's still a cool, it's a pretty cool deck, and it does pretty well into a lot of big matchups, but I think it has some major weaknesses against anything running black for the most part. Purple-Black Luffy, I also expect to start seeing more of. I've been seeing quite a few of these just locally, and I know locally doesn't mean a whole lot, but I've been seeing a lot of Purple-Black Luffy representation now in my local area, as well as Purple-Yellow Nico Robin. So I would not be surprised to see more Purple-Black Luffy and maybe a little bit more Purple-Yellow Robin moving forward. Now, Shanks is another one. Guys, if you're a red player, and if you're not trying to play super aggro rush like Zoro or Zero, then Shanks is probably the way to go for you. Shanks is a very, very dependable, how should I say this? He's a very consistent leader for the most part. He's just consistently good. You could high roll and go just run someone over. Excuse me, but even with your low rolls, you can typically get out of some bad situations. I think we can expect to see a lot of Shanks moving forward into OP09. Red Purple Luffy, I don't know about this one. There are some diehard Red Purple Luffy fans out there. Shout out to my guy Kane. Make sure to check out Gear 5 Productions on YouTube. That's my buddy Kane. He's always running Red Purple Luffy, and he's a beast on that deck. So there's always going to be the diehards for Red Purple Luffy. I think up until we see Blurple Luffy in OP11. I think that's when people will make a pretty big switch over to that, but we'll have to see what happens, and we have to see what kind of bans happen and all that good stuff, okay? Zoro and Sanji, of course, one of my dream decks here. I wish this would get even more support and take it to the next level, but it's getting more and more, and in EV02, we will be getting, let me say one thing about Zoro and Sanji real quick. I just call it Zanji for short. This leader might become very decent in OP11. Not that it will run away with anything. I'm not saying it will run away with any kind of big tournament or anything. I mean, you never know. But against certain matchups, I think Green-Blue Zanji is actually pretty good. I think it will be pretty decent into Blurple Luffy moving forward into OP11. I think it will be pretty decent into Blackbeard as long as they can fill out the board fast enough. And just overall, I think the only thing that Zanji really struggled with was mono black decks that just have endless amounts of removal. Whereas, yes, I will say this. Blackbeard does have a lot of removal. I don't think it's as oppressive, so to speak, as like something like Lucci is. So we'll have to see what happens there. Now, next up, we got Black Yellow Luffy. This is just an incredible deck. It's just very powerful. It is a very skill-intensive, hard-to-pilot deck for sure. This is not an easy deck to play. This is not a beginner-friendly deck. It is very punishing for when you make mistakes, but it's also very rewarding if you're a very good player and you know the meta. So I think Black Yellow Luffy will continue to be used. Again, barring any major bans. And notice that it goes all the way over to here into the next page. So there's quite a bit of Black Yellow Luffy representation. And then we got Red Yellow Sabo. There's more NL decks down here in Luffy, but these should have been over in those sections. But then there's one Red Yellow Sabo deck. I always hope that this deck can one day take it to the next level. We'll have to see what happens. Maybe someone can break it. Maybe someone can find a way to break this deck. We are going to look at one game of Red Yellow Sabo at the end of today's video. Okay, so just to summarize here, Blue Dofi, unless some type of major ban happens over in the after Worlds, then I expect this leader to continue to be used quite a bit. It is a very cheap deck to pick up. I think it's like $100 for the entire deck to buy it from scratch, and it is very competitive. But here's the thing, guys. Even if they do mess with something with Dofi here, even if they ban the leader, I still think the deck will be very good still, and I think you'll be able to run it into OP09 running Boa Hancock potentially, for us in the West if they ban it at Worlds. But again, I'm not saying it will be banned. I'm saying I think there will be options. I think this leader will still be very good almost no matter what, depending on what we see with the ban's restrictions. I think Zero's going to start picking up steam. Smoker, I think, is just solid. Smoker's just a solid black deck. all these other ones here. So Red, Yellow, Bello Betty will become a very strong sleeper deck, a dark horse that can just run some of the better decks over in the format. Everything but Dofi. So again, if Dofi gets hit, guys, you might want to keep your eye on Red, Yellow, Bello Betty. Okay, and Nell I think will remain strong for quite some time. It's just a solid deck. And Nell is actually solid into every single deck except Blackbeard. In Blackbeard, it's rough, okay, but it's still doable, especially if you make some adjustments to your deck with like the 7-cost Russian L, and then going into TB02 when we get the 10-cost Russian L as well. Purple Luffy I think will remain relevant until green Purple Luffy comes out, which I think will then result in like a hard swap over to that. And same thing with red Purple Luffy. I think all the red Purple Luffy players will just swap directly over to Blurple Luffy at OP11 whenever that happens. Everything else on here is pretty straightforward. I think Bonnie will still remain one of those decks that rewards extremely talented players and has a decent matchup into most decks, everything but black, specifically Lucci. Everything else I think Bonnie can probably deal with. Lucci, of course, I think will remain relevant unless there's any kind of major bans or restrictions to the black card pool. We'll have to see what happens. Blackbeard, like I already said, this one will... I think, now, let me say this. I don't think it matters what kind of bans or restrictions happen unless we see something hit Blackbeard, which I guess is possible, but I don't foresee that happening anytime soon. But I don't think much from Blackbeard will be hit, if anything at all. And I think this leader will continue to get better and better, especially going into OP 11, when I believe we'll be getting the ST, the new starter decks that will have all the Yonko leaders. For black, it'll be Blackbeard. Red will be Shanks. Blue will be Buggy. Purple will be Purple Black Luffy, as weird as that is. Green, Yellow will have... Yamato will be yellow, technically. And then what's the other color I'm missing? Green will be Jory Bonnie. So I believe, Blackbeard will remain very strong for the foreseeable future, and Buggy will also get stronger when we get those cards. Same thing with Purple Black Luffy. Shanks will remain strong, I believe, going forward. Red Purple Luffy I already talked about. Black Yellow Luffy we talked about. Yeah, and I think that's about it. Now, let's go ahead and hop over to the east. So, guys, this website I will link in the comment section below. This is OnePieceTopDecks.com that I'm using. You go to the deck list here, and then you go to wherever you want to. We were just under OP09 for the West. We'll look at OP10 for the West real quick because they got some early practice games in. I don't know. Some kind of, oh, here we go, webcam, so probably proxy games. That's very cool and all, but we're not really going to focus on that. Okay, now, moving over to OP11 in the East. Okay, we're still on OnePieceTopDecks.com. We're going to sort by deck profile. This is OP11 early on. Now, if you want to see OP10 for the East, be sure to check out OnePieceTopDecks.com. You can check that out at your own leisure. So here's the green-purple Luffy list we were just talking about that I think most purple Luffy players will move over to. Moving forward, we got some green-yellow Law popping up because it comes out in OP10. Red-green Smoker popping up as well. Purple Katakuri, Jinbei in here randomly. But this is the main deck we need to talk about is Blurple Luffy. Okay, let's scroll through this entire list because there's not a lot of results in yet on OnePieceTopDecks.com. We're gonna head over to gumgum.gg and see even more results. So hang on one second, guys. We'll just blast through this real quick. So Blurple Luffy seeing it's completely overrepresented right now because, guys, it's a very, very strong deck. I have already put out a video on that. I'll try to link that in the comment section below as well for you to check out if you've not already seen it. This deck pumps. This deck is incredible. Okay, blue, yellow, Nami showing up as well. Not too bad. Only a few blue Dofis. This is kind of... So let's talk about this for a second. This is a little bit concerning, right? If they ban anything that slows down blue Dofi or Blackbeard or Lucci, well, guess what? All of a sudden, a certain deck might completely run away with the format. A certain deck might do that, right? I don't know which one. Who knows? You never know. It always depends. Then we got Jory Bonnie here, Bello Betty, Vegapunk. Charlotte Pudding is interesting. I've got a video coming out on Pudding soon. That's going to be very interesting, I think, for everybody. Blackbeard, Lim, Kobe, Red Purple Luffy still down here, and ST02 Kid. That's right, guys. Green Eustace Kid. Okay, now let's go ahead and hop over to gumgum.gg. We got some cool stuff to look at here. We're going to try, let me see if I don't think I can sort by leader on here, but notice at the top we have all the representation. And look at this, guys, 50% of the field, and that's only out of, it looks like 50% out of 11. So, or excuse me, 11 decks. So there's probably 22 or 23 decks that have been submitted so far. But out of those 22 or 23 decks, 11 of them are Monkey D. Luffy, Blurple Luffy. Then we have another one of them that is green, purple Luffy. Then we have Anami showing up here, Zoro, probably Zero. We'll have to look in a second. We have Katakuri, which is very interesting, guys, because as other leaders, so now the game is reaching a certain point where some of the stronger leaders from the past have kind of fallen off, and new leaders have stepped up. But here's what happens. As time goes on, when newer leaders step up and push down the leaders that were once running the show from the set before, well, now the leader that got pushed off all the way back before that starts getting some momentum as well and could be very strong moving forward. And I think that's what's happening with Katakuri. Katakuri was very good when it first came out all the way back in OP03, kind of all the way up till Enel came out in OP05. Then Enel kind of pushed it out of the way, and then even Enel got pushed out of the way and things moved on. Well, now Katakuri's come back full circle, and he might be kind of decent into a meta that's full of Blurple Luffys because of how that matchup goes. We'll have to see what happens. Then we have one Teach here. We've got one Jewelry Bonnie, one Red-Green Smoker, one Black-Yellow Luffy, one Red-Green Odin. That's very interesting, very spicy. And then two Shanks deck lists here. Now, this is just for a flagship plus level event. If we go to all events and it goes into, 151 decks. This is out of 151 decks. Well, we still have Blurple Luffy pulling away with it by a long shot, almost 40% of the meta, and then 8% coming in from green-purple Luffy. So, I mean, it's really not that far-fetched to say. Let me see something, guys, because I bet if we go, here's, that's purple Katakuri. This is purple yellow pudding. I was going to say, I'm trying to see all the different purple Luffy decks here. Well, here's one right here. Let me just say this. Almost 50% of the decks, let's just say it like this. Almost 50% of the decks represented in these early 151 deck results from the East for OP11, almost 50% of them are running Gum Gum Giant. A lot of people think that might get hit in the ban list. We don't know. I've heard some people say for Blackbeard something might get hit, whether it's some type of search or whether it be the stage or the event or something. I'm not sure. Maybe, I think some people have wishful thinking on Burgess, but I think Burgess is too, like the 4-cost Burgess is just too pivotal to what that deck is trying to do. But I do believe some people might be suggesting that the stage gets banned. And then I've been suggesting that Ice Age gets banned. I know some people don't like that. I understand. I'm not saying it's not a good card, guys. I think the card's incredible. But then I was hoping they get rid of Ice Age and then maybe add back in Great Eruption. I think that would be much more interesting. It would also kind of help out Blackbeard in ways as well, right? Potentially. We'll have to see what happens. Then with blue, some people think with Doflamingo, certain cards are going to get banned. Maybe the 2-cost Teach. Maybe even the leader is what I was saying. I was saying I don't think it'd be that bad of an idea to just either ban Teach or ban the leader Blue Dofi and just make people play Boa Hancock, and all the other cards are the same. Now, the card that I think is actually, overtuned or quote-unquote broken within that is actually the 4-cost Trafalgar Law, because that ends up doing way too much tricks with your own deck and your opponent's early board, where if you're not running that, then you're just getting bullied off the game, or bullied out of the game. You lose all player agency, unfortunately. But we'll have to see what happens. We're seeing a lot of purple representation, specifically decks that run Gum Gum Giant. And, it's a little bit concerning. Now, we are seeing a little bit of decks still running black, like Marshall B. Teach, Lucci. Here's a random Gecko Moria. That's very interesting, seeing a Gecko Moria. Black-Yellow Luffy, but that's really more of a yellow deck with, one card in it that's black, or 2 cards that are black, right? I think it's Gecko Moria and 5-call Sabo. A few other people will tech black cards in as well, but it's really just a yellow deck other than that. Seeing Red-Black Kobe pop up, but this is very different. This is more of a red deck than anything. And I'm surprised not to see more Shanks in this list. I'm trying to see where it is. Okay, there's a random red-purple Trafalgar Law. Don't know what's going on there. But, guys, I actually don't see any Shanks in this early list here. Let me see something. If we type in Shanks, well, it does say there are 2 of them. It says 2 of them have popped up. So maybe it's in here and I just didn't see it. Oh, here it is. I bet that's it. Yeah, there it is. 2% Shanks right there. So good stuff. Be sure to check out this website if you want to look into each one of these deck lists individually and kind of see which one you want to try to mess around with. But this has kind of become the new boogeyman, guys. Hey, everyone was super upset about how strong Blue Dofi was doing, and for good reason. It was a little bit overtuned for sure. And then same thing with Lucci and things like that. But it looks like there might be a new sheriff in town here. It's just Luffy. It's either green-purple Luffy and then Blurple Luffy. And also, guys, check this out. Red-Green Smoker picking up a little bit of steam as well. Not bad. Blue Dofi's still in the conversation. It's not like he's gone. Same thing with Teach and Lucci, like I was saying. But now we got these 2 new big dogs in the format. They're I think they're making a pretty big statement, but we'll have to see what happens, guys. It's still very, very early on in OP11's in the East for OP11 meta. Okay, That's enough of that, guys. That's enough yapping for today. Let's go ahead and check out a game on the sim. So I guess we're not done yapping completely, but now it is time to start heading towards the end of the video. We got a game to go over on the sim here. Volume is off. Speed is on 2x. So, guys, we got a game here of red-yellow Sabo versus red-black Garp. Notice my hand. Okay, actually, this is not the craziest hand. This is an OP11 version of each deck. My opponent here playing Garp, they are playing OP11 as well. I am playing red-yellow Sabo and OP11 cards as well. Totally legal. Okay, they're going to start off with a brand new search. That's just a great search. Very nice. And look at that first card we get there. Oh, what's that? 6-cost Marine Combat Ultramarine or something like that. Very, very cool card there. It's a 6-cost card that can push a 6 or less to the top or bottom of the owner's life. Okay. So we're going to swing in for 6. They do take it aggressively. They play out a Rebecca. We're on our 5 Dawn turn. We're going to swing 5 into the Brook. They're going to block with their Rebecca, and I'm going to just slam down Gidatsu here, and I'm just going to try to control the board. Now, let me say this right now, guys. I know this is not like some crazy meta matchup. I'm not playing against one of the best decks in the format or something like that. But hear me out. I do think there is some idea now to go back to the more controlling version of Red-Yellow Sabo. And I know some people might not like that idea, but hear me out. I think the format is about to slow down a little bit, and we've gotten some pretty decent answers since the last time we tried a Red-Yellow Sabo control deck, at least here on the channel. So they're going to play out a Kuzan. I've got the answer in my hand. So they're going to swing in for 5. We're going to take that. We countered out a 1, took the other. And now we're going to swing 5 into the brand new here. Let's see what we choose to do. Yeah, we'll swing 5 into brand new, and watch this. They're going to let that go, obviously. We're going to play out the Newgate, popping the Kuzan and swinging in for 7 with the Gidatsu. We use the Newgate's effect to attach a Dawn to our character instead of our leader, because I don't want to lose one of these characters on the board right now, and we're just eating up everything they play every turn. This is how you dream of the deck to play, of how you want it to perform, right? Now watch this, guys. Typically speaking, when a player gets down Gecko Moria, that's a very scary thing. It is a scary thing for sure, by the way. But watch this, guys. Watch what happens here. There's a new card we have access to from OP11 called Honesty Impact. Watch what we're going to do. So we're going to do minus 4,000 to the Gecko Moria, making him a 5k that we can pop with Newgate. Then we're going to pop the Rebecca, so then we can smash completely into the board. Watch this, guys. So like I said, minus 4 there, pop that. Then, okay, hang on. So we did minus 4,000 to the Gecko, making him a 5k, and then we used the rest of Honesty Impact's effect to KO the Rebecca. Then we're going to swing 6 into 3 here, into the brand new. And then we're going to swing 8 into 4, getting rid of the Tashigi. We just completely wiped their board, and we're one step closer to getting the cards, you know, all the answers out of my opponent's hand. Let's see what they do next. And notice our next turn, guys. We've got Rayleigh set up or a Beckman, whatever we need. So they're going to swing 7 into 6 here. I really don't want to lose this card. I'm considering giving them the blocker. We end up giving them a 2k counter. I kind of wish I had kept that 2k counter because it has power reduction. And yeah, see, that would have changed everything right here. I would have been able to very easily do... Well, I guess we still can. Because I will say this, if you can't deal with that Newgate, you're in trouble. If my opponent cannot deal with that Newgate, as much power reduction as I'm running in this version of the list... Guys, they're in trouble. I'm running Honesty Impacts. I'm running Koalas. I'm running Rayleighs. They have to get rid of this Newgate or we're just going to demolish the entire board. And anything they put down on the board that we can't quite deal with, I am running those Marine Combat Ultramarines or whatever it's called, the new 6-cost event. We'll look at it in a second when we get to the deck list. It's a new 6-cost event from OP11 for yellow. It's really meant for the Shirahoshi deck, I believe. But at the same time, putting cards into life, we can put our cards into life or our opponent's card into life that costs 6 or less. It's very solid. There it is right there. We'll pause and read it real quick. So it's Merman Combat Ultramarine, not Marine Combat Ultramarine. That's too funny. Merman Combat Ultramarine. It's a 6-cost event. It has main, add up to 1 character. So in your character or your opponent's, add up to 1 character with a cost of 6 or less, face up to the top or the bottom of the owner's life area. So I could push my Gidatsu back to my life. I could push my Shirahoshi to life or something like that. The trigger also has add up to one of your opponent's characters. Now, this is your opponent's characters only here. Add up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less to either the top or bottom of their life area face up. So the trigger is getting rid of a 4 or less. The 6 cost, or the event by itself is getting rid of a 6 or less. It's just very powerful, and that also combos well with our Gidatsu and another card we're running in the deck, the 4 cost Kuzan. Okay, let's see what our opponent's going to do now. They're going to play out Hina. They're going to play out the new Garp, attaching 2 Dawn to their leader, getting Dawn, doing cost -3 more, cost -2 more, and then popping it with Garp on the... hang on. Everything happened very quick there. They played out Hina to drop the Rayleigh down to 4. Then they played out the new 5-cost Garp here to attach 2 Dawn to the leader, using the leader's effect to reduce Rayleigh down even further, KOing the card with the Garp, and now attaching the rest to the leader. They're going to probably swing 9 into 6. We're going to give them the blocker finally, and we have what we need on the board. Guys, this Edward Newgate has gone absolutely crazy this game. Absolutely crazy. So now we're going to swing for 7, and then probably swing for 7 more, and we're going to turn this Gidatsu into a 7K here and push it to life. And now, all of a sudden, our Edward Newgate, I was going to say, I think I pushed the Gidatsu to life, if I remember correctly. Our Edward Newgate is a 10,000 power character, and I have a 1K in hand. He'd have to put 5 Dawn on his leader to try to take this card out, and I would save it. And if he put 6 Dawn on the leader, then he would get the card, and he'd only have 4 Dawn left for the turn. So we do have our opponent right where we want them. Okay, they're going to do it the other way. They're going to use Suru, minus cost here, play out some Goku, cheating out the Kobe. This is a pretty spicy Garp list, guys. This is pretty cool. They're going to get rid of the Newgate. They attack in, we take it. And I don't see any reason why we should go for game right now. Why don't we just keep going for the board? So watch this, guys. First, we're going to attack into the board and see what we can get our hands on. And I think we attack into the board first here. Hang on, let's see. I haven't made up my mind yet. I'm still trying to learn this new style of the deck. We're going to swing for 7 into 4. I like that much better. Make him give me that card. So now we're going to swing for 7 into 5. He's going to use the blocker and 2K out. Well, now we're going to actually... hang on, I think we're going to get rid of this card. Yeah, so we're going to swing 8, 9. Yeah, swing 9, 10 into this Sengoku, getting rid of that, buffing our Ben Beckman to 9K. I did also like the idea of playing out the Kuzan there, by the way, because we weren't really at jeopardy of losing the game there on the crackback, especially if we chose to gain life, which we could have done. But I do like the idea of playing out the Kuzan there to put the Suru into life and making them trash what was their last card at the time. 15 into 9, that card's gone. And here we go, guys. We're going to go and use the Kuzan now. We're going to push that card to life. They're going to have to trash a card. They end up trashing a Kobe. And now we're going to swing for 7. And here we go. They're down to 2. We're going to play out the Basil Hawkins. And now what do they do? What do they do? We do have a 2K. We have 3 life, and we can continuously gain life at this point. This is where blockers come in very handy, against the red-yellow Sabo matchup, and that's why we run. Some decks are running unblockable Luffy. All right, we're going to go for game here, guys. We're going to swing for 7, swing for 7, swing for 7, and swing for 7. That's right. Here we go. Actually, it was going to be 3 7s and an 8, the more I'm looking at this. No way out of this one. It would be crazy. Even if he did have a pulse, GG to my opponent. Even if he did somehow have a way out of that attack right there, I'm at 3 life. He only has 3 attacks. And if he attacks into me, he gives me a rush character back to my hand for me to swing into his life next turn. So he was in a horrible position there. Good game to my opponent. And hey, maybe this deck has some potential. Maybe it doesn't. But this is the deck list we were running today, guys. Red, yellow, Sabo. This is my first take on the OP11 version. Notice it's all 4 ofs and a few 2, and just this 1 2 of, because we're working on it. It's not done. It's not complete. It's not finished. I have a lot of hybrid removal in this deck. I have cost-based removal with the Electromagnetic Cannon, Kuzan, Gidatsu, and then this Merman Combat Ultramarine card. Even Katakuri, we just didn't see it. Same thing with, notice we did not see the Electromagnetic Cannon or Katakuri, and I'm running 4 of them, 4 of each. Oh well, it is what it is. But then we're also running 4 Rayleigh, 4 Ben Beckman, 4 Newgate, and then 4 Koalas to drop the cost down. So we're running a pretty decent mixture of hybrid damage. And with that in mind, another card I might have to consider going forward. Let me see something. No, okay, I was going to say I was going to try to run in Dahl, but notice what it says. This is only if your leader is Navy. It's a 4-cost, 1,000 power, 1K counter blocker from OP11. Blocker, on play, you may trash 1 card from your hand, and if your leader has the Navy type, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 6,000 power during this turn. So we can't run that, unfortunately. That would have been incredible, but it's not even an option. It would just be a 4-cost, 1K blocker, which would be terrible for what we're trying to do. I will say this, though. If it had that, if I was able to use that minus 6,000 power, we would have been running it. I'm pretty sure we would have been running that in red, yellow, Sabo. Some other options here. I wasn't a huge fan of this card. It is kind of decent that you can gain life and whatnot, but a card like Kid and Killer might just be better. It might just be more useful for what the deck's trying to do. 9-cost Yamato would also be another possibility here. because we're running Kuzan to push cards to the top of our opponent's life, and we are still running the Ultramarine card here to push cards to life. We're running Gadatsu, maybe a perfect curve. Looks like turn 2, put out, or turn 1, play Shirahoshi, going second, right? Going second. Turn 1, play out Shirahoshi. Turn 2, Kuzan. Turn 3, Ultramarine. Turn 4 would be Gadatsu, and then we also would have 3 Dawn left for the turn to do what we need with it. And then turn 5, when we get to our 10 Dawn turn, we can slam down Yamato and do things from there. So that might be, or even turn 4 could have been Katakuri. There might be an idea for that now, guys, where we go more of the cost-based, or excuse me, more of the stall strategy here, where we just keep pushing things to life with cards like, you know, like I said, Kuzan, Katakuri, Ultramarine, and then start popping things with Gadatsu and Yamato. There might be some idea there. We'll have to see what happens going forward. But yeah, it felt good playing Red Yellow Sabo again. I don't think it's ready for the top decks just yet. It needs a lot more play testing. But the one card that I really want to talk about... let me say this, guys. Y'all tell me, what do you think we should do? Should we go more of the... If we're going to go with the Red Yellow Sabo deck, should we even go control? That's the first question. I've got like 5 questions for you. If we're going to go Red Yellow Sabo, should we even go control, or should we go something else? Number 2, if we do choose the control path, do we decide to go power reduction, or do we decide to go cost reduction? What is the way you guys think we should start doing that? I like the power reduction idea a lot because it's kind of built into the Red Yellow Sabo Revo Army kit. But at the same time, the little curve I was just talking about here was, you know, very good as well, just removing a card every single turn. You know, 4 Dawn, Kuzan, 6 Dawn, Ultramarine, 8 Dawn, Katakuri, into 10 Dawn, Yamato popping probably whatever we need to. Or do we go hybrid with it? See, so that's the 4th one. So it's like, do we go hybrid? Do we go just cost-based removal? Do we go power-based removal? Do we even go control? Those are like the big questions I have. What do you guys think? I'm really curious to see what you guys are having success with with Red Yellow Sabo and OP11. What's working out for you guys? I have been falling behind quite a bit with this. It's been a struggle for me lately. I'm not going to lie. I do feel like Red Yellow Sabo, I've been losing a little bit of interest with them, unfortunately, in terms of, I think I've just kind of burned myself out on an individual leader. And guys, that's what helps me prevent burnout in general in this game, is me playing all the different leaders that I do. And yes, I like to pick up at least one deck that is my main, that I focus on, and I get better and better and better at, until I get bored with it, and then it's time to move on to the next one. And I hate to say that, because I will always play Black Yellow Linlin, I will always play Red Yellow Sabo, but I have already kind of hinted to this on the channel, guys. I'm probably going to start heading in the direction of Green Yellow Trafalgar Law. I've got a big video coming out on Green Yellow Law, coming out pretty soon, probably sometime next week, probably in like 2 or 3 days at the time you're recording this. All right, I'm done, guys. Hope y'all enjoyed. Please don't forget to like, subscribe. Tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. I'm very curious to see what y'all think about not just this, but also what we were looking at over here with this major announcement here. I'm very curious to see what people are saying about this. How excited are you? Are you excited as I am about this? I doubt it. No, I'm just kidding. You might be. But no, seriously, I'm so pumped to hear we are being caught up with the East. It was also a lot of fun checking out all the different meta stuff going on. I think things are about to really change in the One Piece TCG world, and I think it's all for the better. These bans and restrictions coming up, these insane new leaders coming out in OP11, and then catching all of us up with the East, catching up all the other languages to the East, where we're going to be all under the same umbrella, the same release schedule. Exciting times moving forward here for the One Piece TCG. Tell me what y'all think about it in the comment section below. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get out of here. We got to finish this up. We got to wrap this up. Big shout out to everybody who supports the channel. Guys, whether you're liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, viewing, whatever you're doing to help out my channel, using my TCG Player affiliate link, whatever you're doing. Guys, if you're supporting me through Patreon, PayPal, donations, supporting me by buying the playmats, becoming a member on YouTube, becoming part of the community on Discord, I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much for helping me out in all these different ways. All right, guys, I'm done. I'm done yapping now. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, like I said. And man, I really can't wait to hear what you guys say down in the comment section below about these new releases. Okay, I'm done. Hope you enjoyed. And until next time, guys, peace.